Hi, my name is Chloe, and this is my strategy presentation over the strategy I do, we do, you do. All right, so moving on, here is the definition of I do, we do, you do. It's just a systematic structure which gives the teacher time to instruct to the students over a concept or lesson, and it's a simple model that allows for a repetitive step-by-step approach, which is why it's so great because it's very detail oriented. So the goal is that the students leave the classroom fully knowing the lesson that's been taught that day. The target population would be students who struggle with anxiety, dyslexia, dyscalculia, and ADHD. This strategy will help them reduce their task anxiety, nurtures their self-efficacy, and helps all students master what they need to learn. So starting with anxiety, just like a lot of students, they may struggle with when they have anxiety, they struggle with self doubt and tend to overthink things. So, in this strategy, it will not leave students with anxiety um, feeling like they're not understanding a concept. Like, the best part about this is that the students in the I do, we do stages can ask the teacher for help, ask students for help, ask people of their peers who understand the concept. Maybe they can describe it better to them, be shown more examples from the teacher. So this strategy really is beneficial for them, along with dyslexia and dyscalculia and ADHD. This concept of really repeating the lesson, repeating certain concepts that students may miss in a normal classroom environment when they're not repeating things as much. This will really benefit them because they may feel like class goes too quick at times, and here this lesson would be repeated over and over, and they would be given enough time to understand it. The I do stage. So let's just go over into more detail on how these stages work. So during the I do stage, you tell your students about what they need to know and you show them how to do things that they need to be able to do. So the teacher will be teaching the lesson, and then once the students are starting to learn a little bit, you ask questions and check for understanding before moving on to the next stage, because this is where sometimes it gets a little dicey during normal school time. Not using this concept, students may feel like they are not allowed to ask certain questions. Sometimes it's not welcomed. But during this strategy, questions are more than recommended to the students because the whole point is to go over concepts multiple times and in a lot of detail. The we do stage. So this is during the we do stage. You guide the students as they work with the material that you taught them. This is very crucial in this I do, we do, you do, because you don't want to leave the students alone on the second stage. Like, the teacher is very much participating and following up with the students. Make sure you're answering all their questions, walking around. If they have individual work, make sure that they're on task and also answering questions correctly. So you want to get your students to think about the material and that they need to understand. You want to give them feedback in case they aren't understanding it correctly, or if they are, then give them good feedback. The you do stage. So during the you do stage, your students complete tasks independently, but only tasks similar to what you've covered in earlier. This is also very crucial in this step because you don't teach a lesson, do it with the students, and then give them equation. If it's math, give them equations that are not what you taught earlier. They're not under the same examples. You don't want to do that. You want to keep the students exactly on track of what you were doing in the first stage so that you're not kind of tricking them into thinking they don't know how to do it. You want to definitely keep it all pretty similar, and not give them this like out of the blue kind of question unless you told them this is a lot different. Let's see if you can handle it. Or instead of handle it, let's see if you can figure out this equation. It is different than the ones I taught before. things like that, that it's okay to add in something new, but definitely tell the students so that they don't feel as if they didn't fully understand the lesson as much as they actually do. And here's an example of using the strategy I do, we do, you do in the classroom. So an I do example, let's say the situation, there's a math teacher teaching third graders multiplication and division, and she starts writing problems on the board and solves them in front of the students. So at this point, the teacher is just at the whiteboard or whatever board, and showing specific equations and going through them step by step, showing the students exactly how they figure out their answers step by step. So once we move on to the we do example, the students have a really great understanding and grasp on what the teacher did. So in this we do, the teacher could write multiplication and division problems on the board and then randomly grab names from a cup and choose a student to solve the equations. And if the student needs assistance, they can ask for the teacher's help or ask a peer. And also a way to modify this, if a student is feeling uncomfortable going up in front of the whole classroom, you could give them, and like specifically in this example, give them an equation that was on the board, that you asked them to come up and do it, but they were too shy. So how about they write that equation on a paper in front of them, show step by step how they figured out the answer, and then by the end of class or whatever time the teacher has, they can show the teacher, and then she can give, or he or she can give that feedback to that student, in case they didn't want to go up in front of the whole class. And then lastly, you do example. The students individually would write the multiplication problems and division problems on flashcards with the math equations on the front and then the answers on the back. And just want to clarify, before these flashcards, the teacher would be walking around and make sure that they're doing it correctly. And then once everyone has correct answers, front and back, show all their work, and they fully understand the concept, then the students can pair up with one other student who also did these flashcards, and then they can quiz each other. And by quizzing each other, let's say an equation they hold up to show their other peer 3 times 3. Then this other student will show their work on a piece of paper, get their answer, tell their peer, and then after everything's done, they will have a great understanding of the lesson. And how to test their knowledge. So let's say we did all this, the teacher believes that they are doing really well and just wants to make sure. Then you review students by ending class with a written quiz to see how they understood the concept. So I would say this could be either the teacher has one equation that she gives, or he or she gives every student. It could be 3 times 3, 5 times 2, whatever it may be. She could do the same for everybody, or she could give everybody a different one that they did that day. So like everyone should know each one, even if they're all not getting the same. And yes, you can test them in different ways, not just give everybody the same one or give them 3 equations, 1 equation. Just see if they understand that concept. But this is a great strategy. I will use this in my future classroom. So thank you.